So, you want to play Minesweeper in 2026? I ain't judging. I'm the one creating the video. So, I'm going to teach you how to play. Let's get to it. So first off, we're going to go to Chrome because I don't think Windows and Mac has it anymore. We go to Chrome, we type Minesweeper. So now we're going to play easy mode just because I want to make it simple. What this number means, this 1 right here. Look at the squares that are surrounding that square. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. What this 1 means is one of those 8 squares surrounding it has a mine. This one is simple because all of these other 7 squares, besides this green one, are accounted for. They do not have a mine. Since this is a 1 and there's only one clickable square in its 8 surrounding squares, this has to be the mine. So we right-click it. We do not left-click it. If we left-click it, this is what happens. Boom, we die. Don't left-click. Same idea. This 1, if you look at the 8 squares surrounding it, these empty squares you can think of as zeros. They're kind of the best squares. So this 1 guarantees that this is a mine. So we're going to right-click it. Bam. Now, if we look at this 2, it's kind of the same deal. You look at the 8 surrounding squares. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's only 2 clickable squares. I'm clicking these squares. Nothing's happening. There's only 2 clickable squares for this 2. So that means that both of these squares have mines. Guaranteed, 100% certainty. We don't guess in this game. There's actually a feature in Google Chrome Minesweeper that there is no guessing needed. In the old Windows version, you actually did have to guess sometimes, but they coded it specifically in this version that you don't have to guess. Don't guess. There is logic to this. Now, we're going to ignore this 3 because it's a little more complicated and this is still a beginner. So, we're going to go back to this 1. If we look at this 1, there are 2 clickable squares in this 1 surrounding 8. This one and this one. We do not know which one is a mine based off of this 1 only. Okay? It's a 50-50 shot. We don't want to guess. But if we use this 1, we only see that there's 1 clickable square in its surrounding 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. The only clickable square. Thus, this has to be the mine. Hopefully that makes sense. Since we deduced that this is the mine based off of 100% certainty with this square, that helps us with the other squares surrounding it. So now this 1, since this is a mine that we have deduced, we know for certain that these 2 squares are not mines. So we can left click these. 1, 2. No guessing involved. Same thing with this 1. We know that this is a mine, so we know that these 2 of these 8 surrounding squares, there's only 3 clickable squares. This one is a mine guaranteed, so these 2 are free because there's only 1 mine in these surrounding 8 squares. Boom, boom. Same with this 1. There's only 1 mine. We know that this is the mine, so these 2 are free. This 2, there's only 2 clickable squares. We know that this is a mine, so that's a mine. Based off of that, we now know that this 2 has 2 mines that are accounted for. Thus, this square is free. So we can click this square with 100% certainty. Boom. There are certain points where you need to use logic to deduce things. We're still not at that stage. Like, everything is still in our simple patterns. There are still squares that only have 1 clickable square when it's a 1, such as this one. There's only 1 clickable square in its 8 surrounding squares. So boom, that helps us deduce that this 1 has this square is safe. Now that we did that, this 2 only has 2 clickable squares. So that is a mine. We can right click that and we just continue on until we get to a point where we have to use logic. That's where the game gets more interesting, I would say. So we know for a fact that all of these squares are safe because these 2 are the mines of this 2's 8 surrounding squares. Same thing with this 1. This 1 is accounted for, so these 3 are safe. And I just clicked 1 time, but since these were zeros, it accounted for by itself, which is great for me. That's why I like zeros. We know this is a mine because there's only 2 clickable squares for this 2. So that helps us with this 1, as well as this 1, as well as this 1. We know that this 2 has its 2 that are accounted for from other squares. So we know that these 3 are safe. Same with this 2. So now there's only 2 clickable squares again. So we right click this one for this 2. That helps us with this 1 because there's only 1 square out of these 5. On the edges, they're 5 instead of 8. And in the corner, there are 3. So it's just the surrounding squares. Now we know that this 1 is accounted for, so that's safe, as well as these 2. Because this 1, we know this is the mine. Now, we can just indiscriminately just right-click all these. Notice how we're in the negatives. We fucked up if that happens, so don't do that. We only want to right-click if we know for certain that it is the mine. We could deduce that with the patterns that we saw earlier. There's nothing complicated here. There's only 2 squares for this 2 right here, and that helps us with this 1. We know these 4 squares are safe, as well as this one, and we win. This is an extremely easy map because there was no logic needed for the puzzles. We will go to a medium now. We will very likely run into a more complicated thing where we actually have to use some logic. We're just going to do the same thing as before. We know that this 1 only has 1 available square, so we're just going to right click it, and that solves us this 1. And Just keep doing the easy patterns. We don't want to just like jump around. We kind of just want to stay in one area up until we run into a wall. We will probably run into a wall. It tends to happen on medium, but we will see. So this 3. Bigger numbers are scary because there's a lot more mines around them. So this 4, out of these 5 squares, 4 of these are mine. We have 3 of them accounted for, but we don't know which one of these 2 are the mine. So we want to not even touch it. Don't even touch it. We will get there. With this 3, there's only 3 clickable squares. We know these 3 are the mine. That helps us with this 3. We know these 3 are the mine based off this 3. So these 3 squares are free. They're not mines. 2, 3. Now, that helped us with the 4. We know this is the mine. And we just carry on. So this 1 is accounted for, so this is free. This 2 only has 2 clickable squares, so we click it. This 1 is accounted for. This 1 is accounted for. And we just carry on. I'm gonna speed up a little bit until we run into a wall where we have to use some logic. So if you look on the left here, there is no obvious pattern that we've seen. We can use logic to continue this, but I'm just gonna move on to a different area. I don't want to be guessing ever in this game. This is a complete logic deduction game. So this one is safe. So now we're just gonna keep going. And notice how we've come back over here and everything is being solved with 100% certainty because we've worked around it. Now, we have reached a point where we have to use logic. There is no obvious pattern where there's only 1 clickable square for a 1 or 2 clickable squares for a 2. That is not the case in this scenario. That does not mean we have to guess. It does not mean that. It just means we have to use a little more logic and tricks to actually solve it. So let's look at this 1 right here on the corner. There are 2 clickable squares. We know for a fact that one of these squares is a 1. Since we know that one of these squares is the 1, we know that this is not the flag. If this was the mine, that would mean that one of these is not the mine, which is not true. So we know for a fact that this is free. So I'm going to left click it and be safe with 100% certainty. Same deal here, actually. So this one here, there are 2 clickable squares. We know for a fact that one of these is the mine. This one or this one. Since one of these is the mine, we know for a fact that these 3 for this one are free. And the same thing with this one here. These 3 above this one are not mines. And look at that. Opened up. We still have tricks that we need to do. We need to look at the top one here. One of these and only one of these squares is a mine. There is a 2 right next to it, though. This solves this 2. It solves this 1 as well. Solves this 2. However, it fails this 1. This cannot be true. Thus, this guarantees that this is a mine. Guarantees it. Because we know only one flag is in one of these squares. So, based off of that, we have solved this 1. And now, since we did that, we know that this is a flag. And based off of that, we have now solved the puzzle. We're not really running into any crazy shit, but I'm just going to play one more. So I'm going to speed up until we get to a crazy shit. These 3s here, where it's only 3 clickable squares, are a great pattern to have, as well as this 4. We know that all of these are mines because there's only 3 clickable squares for this 3. We've actually run into a spot already where we have to use some logic. Now, what we can do is we see this 2 here, right? And there are 1s over here. This is a common pattern where if we see a 1, 2, 1, pretend this is a mine. Pretend it is. It's not, but I'm going to explain in a sec. If this was a mine, that would mean that this and this are clear. If this and this was not a mine, then this 2 would only have this as a mine. Since this would clear these 2. That is not possible. Thus, this cannot be a mine. With 100% certainty, we can left click this. With 100% certainty. And now from that pattern from before, we see that one of these is guaranteed to be a mine. Thus, the 3 to the right of this one are free. And the same with this one. Beautiful. Now this is a little more clear. If we go on this side, if we pretend that this is a mine, then that would clear these 2, and there would only be this as the mine for the 2, which is not possible. So, again, we are 100% certain that this is free. It's the same thing with this one. If this was a mine for this 1, that would clear this 2, and there would only be this square. So we know for certain that this is free. And now we finally have a pattern where it's simple. 2 clickable squares for a 2. We know these 2 are mines. And now we can continue on. we can actually backtrack to this one back over here. And now, since we were in a kind of a complicated spot, it's a little simpler. So we're going to keep going until we come back into a complicated spot. So this 2 has already 2, but I missed it because I was moving into a different direction. So we don't really want to be doing that. You will get a little more confused, but I mean, still fine. Yeah, we're at a place where we need to use logic again. This is a much more difficult medium puzzle than the one we had previously, for sure. There's a pattern here with 1 and 3 here. So 3 has 4 clickable squares with 1 guaranteed so far, next to a 1. So if this was a 1, that would clear these 2 squares. Thus, the 3 would only have these 2 as mines, and these 2 are not mines. That is not possible since this 3 needs 3 mines. Thus, this square cannot be a mine. I'm hoping this makes sense. I'm going to left click this with 100% certainty. And we actually know for a fact that this is a mine because this cannot be true. It solves this 3, but it fails this 1. So there has to be a mine here, and only one of these can be a mine. We don't know which one, though, so we're going to leave it for later. And we have to use some more trickery here. There's no obvious squares right now. So what we can do, we don't have to guess. There's no guessing needed. This 4 has 2 guaranteed, and 2 of these are the mines. So this is not possible because it solves the 4, but it fails this 2. This 2 is expecting only 2 mines, not 3. It has 3 mines out of its surrounding 8, which is incorrect. We know for a fact that this is a mine. Thus, that solves this 4, since 1, 2, 3, 4 for this 4. So this is free. And now that solves this 4. So we do need to use some trickery. But now we're in a more stable zone where this 2 has 2 mines here. So these 3 are safe. And look at that. Lots of shit just opened up. Now we start this 1 since it's simple. And we just carry on. So this one is safe. And everything is the same patterns as before. You will get faster as you play this game a lot because you'll just gain some pattern recognition from playing so much. So yeah, this 2 has 2 of these marked from other squares. So these 4 are safe. And this is safe. And now we just carry on to this, and we should be done soon because we got all the hard parts out in the beginning. And we should be done right now. That was actually a tough one because they threw at least 2 or 3 logic puzzles right in the beginning. So yeah, that's how you play Minesweeper. Hopefully that made sense. If you're playing Minesweeper in 2026, God bless. I think it's a fun-ass game. I used to play it when my internet was out. But now we got, you know, phones and 4G and Farmville and Geometry Dash and Candy Crush and a lot of games, you know, like there's way more competition out there, as you say. But I think Minesweeper is a lot of fun. Now you know how to play it instead of blindly guessing. Like you can do this. I'm actually doing decent, but no, I clicked the mine. Look at that. That's not how you play Minesweeper, simply. So if you liked the video, please like and subscribe. Look at my video over here about Celeste for some reason if you want, and have a good one.